Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. Today I'll be sharing with you Plant Nomenclature by Michael Simpson in the year 2006. So, nomenclature is the assignment of names utilizing a formal system. So, the criteria for formal naming non-plants, algae, and fungi are based on the rules and recommendation of the ICBN or the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. They are the one who is responsible for naming land plants, algae, and fungi. There are two basic activities governed by the ICBM. First, the naming new taxa, in which the new taxa are the one who were previously unnamed and often not described. The second, determine the correct name for previously named taxa. It is altered through the division and it may be united, transferred, or changed. Change in ranks. Plants' names are have legitimate or illegitimate. So what are those legitimate names? Those are the in accordance with the rules of International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Any name that violates one or more rules of the ICBN is known as an illegitimate name. And a valid name is one that is validly published. So later on we will discuss it. The rules of the ICBN can be somewhat complex, often needs careful scrutiny, and points of controversy and periodic changes to International Code of Botanical Nomenclature are voted upon International Botanical Congress, where it happens every 6 years in some countries around the world. So I listed here three: the last July 2005, the last July 2008, and the latest was July 2017 in Shenzhen, China. So what are the principles of the plant nomenclature? There were 6 principles. And the first one is the botanical nomenclature is independent of zoological and bacteriological nomenclature. The code applies equally to names of taxonomic groups treated as plants whether or not these groups were originally treated. So the application of names of taxonomic groups is determined by means of nomenclatural types. Third, botanical nomenclature is determined is based upon priority of publication. And fourth, each taxonomic group with a particular circumscription, position, and rank can bear only one correct name. Of course, the earliest is in accordance with it, but with some exemption in specified cases. So fifth, scientific names of taxonomic groups are treated as Latin regardless of their derivation. And lastly, the rules of nomenclature are retroactive unless expressly limited. So the details of the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature are organized into a number of rules. Those that are mandatory and written out as articles. And there are also notes which are binding and clarifying, and recommendations which are not binding but suggested. So currently the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature is available on a website. So you can search it online. Scientific names, this is the fundamental principle of nomenclature of the ICBN. So stating that every taxon, whether species, genus, family, and others, can bear only one correct name. This is only common sense because confusion would reign if taxonomic entities could bear more than one name, or if one name could refer to more than one entity. So scientific names are in Latin language. So example, these are Magpilia, Alicei, Gingiberals, and so on. So binomials. Binomials are composed of two names, and the first to consistently use binomials was Carlos Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist who is often referred to as the father of taxonomy. So prior to the use of binomials, the designation of species was inconsistent and may have utilized several words. So example of a binomial is liquidambar, is Tyraciflua. So liquidambar is the genus name. Observe that it is capitalized, and Styraciflua is the specific epithet which is not capitalized. So in contrast to the scientific names, many taxa also bear common names that are also called vernacular names, which are generally used by people within a limited geographic regions. So common names are not formally published and are not governed by rules. That's why scientific names are much preferred compared to the common names for several reasons. First, only scientific names are universal and it is used the same worldwide. Common names may vary from region to region, even within a country or within regions of a country. For example, to this, species of the genus Epomea are known commonly as morning glory in the United States, but as woodbine in England. So differences in language will of course further increase the number of different common names. That's why common names are not consistent. So sample and one instance or situation, one taxon may bear more than one common name, and this often varying in different regions. Example to this is adenostoma fasciculatum, or you can call it in some other places chamis and greasewood. That's the common name. And the other one common name may refer to more than one taxon. So example, this is hemlock, refer to suga, a coniferous tree of Pinaceae, or Conium maculatum, an herb of Apiaceae. And third, common names tells nothing about rank and often nothing about classification, whereas scientific names automatically indicate rank and yield at least some information about their classifications. Fourth, many if not most organisms have no common name in any language. So there is the tendency in some works to arbitrarily convert all scientific species names into common names by translating from the Latin. And plants also have ranks. That taxa are classified hierarchically by rank, in which a higher rank is inclusive of all lower ranks. So as you can see in the table figure, note that there are the principal ranks, secondary ranks, and additional ranks if needed. It may be used by adding the prefix sub and the like. So each scientific name of a particular rank must end in a certain suffix according to the rules and recommendation of ICBN. So there is there in the screen the ending and the example taxon. So these are the major rank endings. Else is say, you can read it in from the screen. And sample of ranking of plants, and the attentive family names. So plants also have positions. Positions is the placement of a taxon as a member of another taxon of the next higher rank. For example, the position of the genus Aster is as member of the family Asteraceae. Taxa may be the same in rank but differ in position. Rosa and Aster are both at the rank of genus but differ in position. The former in the Raceae and the latter is in the Asteraceae. So, as mentioned earlier, the prefix sub can be used formally in a rank name in more categories as needed. So trinomial. What are trinomial? There are the subspecies, species, or variety name. Commonly three names. So, example to this is the Toxicodendron radicans, subspecies Diversilobum or Beccalia, arguta variety of Odontolepis. So the specific epithet is the Diversilobum, and Odontolepis is the varietal epithet. So what is of the higher rank? So let's refer to the figure. Of course, subspecies epithet is higher than the varietal epithet. So Diversilibum is higher. So with regards to the names of plants, there is also authorship. So what are authorship? All scientifics at and below the rank of family have an author, the name of the person who first validly published the name. For example, the one in the black words in black are the authors of the name of the plant. So the full example, the full name of the family Raceae is Jesu because they Jesu first formally named the family. So another example, the full name of the tribe Conostelidae is Conostelidae Lindley. And that of the genus Mojave is Mojave A. Gray. So you can see it there. And so on and so forth. So it is true that scientific names are hardly can be pronounced and learned, but I have ways here to understand and be able to memorize scientific names. First, you have to syllabize and know the accent. So learn to divide into syllables and accent scientific names. It is often easier to recite and spell a scientific name if it is consciously broken down into syllables. So second, use mnemonic devices. Select one distinctive feature about the plant, then find a common word that sounds somewhat similar to the scientific name. Then link that distinctive plant feature with the similar sounding word in an active and vivid mental image. The weirder and the more active, the better. So that's when you see the plant, you associate it with mental image, which sounds like the scientific name. For example, visualizing a liquid amber flow flowing from the distinctive bowl-shaped fruits of sweet gum may help you remember the genus name liquid amber. And third, learn the etymology or meaning of scientific names. Scientific names often are descriptive about the morphology of the plant. Once you know, for example, that the Latin word abba means white or that Letophila means narrow, you can better associate the name with the organism. Other scientific names may be named after a person or place of significance. Learning the history of these commemorative names may be helpful and in memorizing them. Finally, there's no substitute for continual practice and review. So I use a combination of oral and written recitation with plant specimen, photograph, or mental image and view. So, nomenclature type is the second principle of the ICBM. It states that scientific names must be associated with some physical entity. So it is almost always a specimen, a standard herbarium sheet specimen, but it may also be an illustration. So this type serves the purpose of acting as a reference for the name upon which the name is based. So there are different types. So first is the holotype herbarium specimen as nomenclature. So originally used or designated at the time of publication. It is it serves as the definite reference source for any question and identity of nomenclature. So it is recommended that all holotype be deposited in an internationally recognized herbarium and cited as one criteria for the valid publication of a name. So next type is the isotype. Additional copies of a holotype made by the author. And lectotype, a fresh herbarium made from original plant materials when holotype is missing. And neotype, fresh herbarium specimen made after publication. And syntype, one of the herbarium specimens of a species used by the author when no holotype was designated or no parts of a plant were made into two or more herbarium specimens. So normally, we think of types as referring to a species or infra-specific taxon. However, type specimen may serve as reference for higher taxonomic group as well. So, the third principle of the ICBN is the priority of publication. So, which generally states that of two or more competing possibilities for a name, the one published first is the correct one, with some exemptions. Priority of publication only applies to taxa at the rank of family and below and does not apply outside a particular rank. So it's based upon the year of publication. So if there's any adverse consequences, one adverse effect of the principle of priority is that scientific names that are well known and frequently used may be replaced by some other name if the latter was discovered to have been published earlier. This lends a degree of instability to nomenclature. However, in such a case, a petition may be presented in botanical journal or taxon and voted upon at the International Botanical Congress to conserve one name over another that actually has priority. So such a procedure is outlined as three amendments to the ICBM. The first, the nomina familiarum conservanda. Second is the nomina generica conservanda et regenda. And lastly, nomina species conservanda. So there are reasons for a name change. Occasionally occur for only two reasons. Because of the recognition that one name is contrary to the rules and thus another name must take place. Excuse me. And because additional taxonomic study or research has resulted in a change of the definition and delimitation of a taxon. This process is known as a taxonomic revision. So there are four major ways that names are changed. As I said earlier, this either united, divided, change in rank, or change in position. So names may be divided. So an example to this is the RAS split into Malosma RAS and Toxicodendron. And names may be united, Diplacus and Memrus have been united into one genus Memrus. So one reason for uniting taxa is the recognition that features previously used to distinguish them are upon more detailed and unsupported of their being different. So there's no clear character state discontinuity. Another reason to unite taxa may be based on cladistic studies in which of two or more separate taxa is demonstrated to be paraphyletic. Thus, one way to eliminate a paraphyletic taxon is to unite it with other taxa such that the new inclusive group is now monophyletic. So in cases of taxa being united, the final name used is that which was published earliest according to the principle of priority. So name may be changed in position. So note that the transfer in position may be an automatic result of uniting or dividing taxa of higher rank. And note that the two rank change examples just given that the original names for the epithets are retained. So you can see it here. The names are retained. And lastly, names may be changed in rank. So patronym is the original, the name bringing or epithet bringing synonyms, part of which has been used in a new combination. As seen earlier, if a species or infraspecific name is transferred in positional rank, the specific or infraspecific epithet of patronym may be retained. So, who are the authors? Persons who named the patronym. So the name of the author who originally named the patronym is also retained and placed in parentheses ahead of the author who made the change. So Example, Sedum variegata Watts was transferred to the genus Dudleya by Moran. New species name is Dudleya variegata open Watts close parenthesis Moran. So when Sedum variegatus Watts was transferred to the genus Dudleya by Moran, the new species name became Dudleya variegata open parenthesis Watts and close Moran. The original epithet Paragaita is retained and the author associated with the epithet Watson in this case is also retained, but is placed in parentheses preceding the new author. The basho name in this case is Sedum Baragaita Watts, the original name. So you can see it in the example. Autonym. What are autonym? Those are automatically created name for infrafamilial, infrageneric, and infraspecific taxa. Autonyms are used whenever a family is divided into subfamilies, tribes, or subtribes. A genus is divided into subgenera or section, or a species is divided into subspecies or varieties. Of the two or more subtaxa form, the autonym is assigned based on priority to the group containing the taxon that was published first. So autonyms have no authors. Examples, only the higher taxa upon which they are based and the other subtaxa have formal authorship. For example, to this is Lotus Polaris bent E green into two varieties. L is the Polaris bent E green variety of Otley Isley and else the Polaris bent. So they are divided into subfamilies. So for Budeae is the autonym. And what are the main criteria of valid publication? So to have a valid name, according to the ICBN, in order for a scientific name to be formally recognized, it must be validly published. So there are four general criteria for valid publication of a name. First, the name must be effectively published, which means that it must be published in a journal commonly available to botanists. Excuse me. Second, the name must be published in the correct form, properly Latinized, with the rank indicated. Such a legitimate name in correct form is known as admissible name. And third, the name must be published with a Latin description or diagnosis or with a reference to such. The Latin description may be brief, listing the new taxon, how it is different from similar and related taxon. And fourth, for taxa of the rank of genus and below, a nomenclatural type must be indicated. The location of this type is also indicated. And an example of a valid publication can be seen in some website. So the full citation of a scientific name includes not only the authorship but also the place and date of publication. And there are what they call synonyms. Synonyms in plant name. A synonym is a rejected name by a particular author or authors, either for two reasons, because they are illegitimate, which means they are contrary to the rules of the ICBM, and because of taxonomic judgment. Example situation is a particular author rejects the classification represented by synonyms. Synonyms may be based on the same or on a different type specimen from the correct name. So what is a correct name? It is a legitimate, therefore validly published name that is accepted by a particular author or author side. Unlike the synonyms, it is the one that is rejected by authors, and this one is the accepted by the authors. So recall that the fundamental principle of ICBN states that each taxon can only have one correct name. So thus, if there are two or more competing names for the same taxon, Abrams and Rasnat, only one of them can be corrected. So, however, which name is correct may depend on the authors of a given reference book or journal. So, what is homonyms? Homonyms is synonym identical to accepted correct word. So, one or of two identical names that are based on different type specimen. So, the later homonym based on publication date is illegitimate. So tautonym is a binomial in which the genus name and specific epithet are identical in spelling. Tautonyms are not permitted in botanical nomenclature. For example, the name Helanthus is a tautonym and illegitimate, whereas Helanthus helanthiotis is not a tautonym and will be permitted. So shouldn't be repeated or identical in spelling. So these are the example of abbreviations. In means in the publication of, X means validly published by, SP no species novum, CF confirm meaning compare. So these are just an examples. Lastly, add-ons to the topics botanical names. Botanical Latin names is best described as a modern Romance language of special technical application. As Stern said in the year 1992, the fourth principle of the ICBN is that botanical names are treated as Latin, a language chosen because of its classical history and because it is no longer in active use. So no matter what the language of a person who publish a name, the name itself must consist of direct Latin words or be Latinized. So converted from the vernacular to the Latin. So, there are three Latin genders and primary endings as All Latin words have gender, masculine, feminine, and neuter. Gender determination is usually only of concern for names at the rank of genus or below. So there are exemptions to gender endings. One exemption to the standardized gender endings is that many tree genera are typically treated as feminine regardless of the ending. So, for example, the genera Quercus, Pinus, and Liquidambar are feminine in gender, even though they have masculine end or us and Circus, Pinus. Thus, specific or infraspecific adjective epithets of these general names must be feminine. So note that a name change can necessitate a change in gender. So Names of genera, infrageneric names, and species or infraspecific combination are all treated as the singular case in Latin. However, all taxon names above the rank of genus are treated as Latin plural nouns. Thus, it is correct to say Orchidaceae are a large family of monocotyledons, and the Rosales consists of many species. So, commemorative names, those are the names after a person or place. So, in specific or infraspecific commemorative names are usually treated as genitive case and must have genitive endings. For example, for the female E after R or Y or a non-vowel. So for female, usually add E or AE. So make it Barbary and so on. So those are the examples. And pronunciation of Latin words. There are no universal rules. It varies from region to region. And these are the Latin diphthongs. So diphthongs are two vowels that are combined together and treated as the equivalent of a singular vowel. So AE is pronounced in English as long E. OE, long E. So tropilum. So that's the examples. Calstremia. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but anyways. So vowels are separately pronounced in Latin, but often like oil in English. So there are different ways on how to pronounce Latin. I mean, there are ways to pronounce Latin. So number of syllables. Latin words have as many syllables as there are vowels and diphthongs. So each syllable of a Latin word is pronounced. Thus, it is often valuable to convert scientific names to syllables in order to pronounce them properly and better memorize them. So, I don't know if I pronounce it right. But anyways, as a summary, this has been discussed under the principle of nomenclature, the scientific names of plants, the ranks, the authorship who published the name of the plant, and learning scientific names. How could they be pronounced and memorized? And the nomenclatural types, the types of specimen, the holotype, isotype, and the like. And priority of publication wherein the one who first publishes the one will be recognized, and conservation of names, how it is should be conserved through the International Botanical Congress, and name changes, names that are united, divided, transferred, or changed in position or rank, and then valid publication, how it is considered valid, and synonyms, the rejected name, the abbreviations incorporated in the names, and the independence of botanical nomenclature, and the retroactivity of the ICDN. So, another topics, the botanical names, standard related gender, number of commemoratives, and lastly, the pronunciation of names. So, that's it. I hope it's been clear in some ways. Thank you for listening. And these are is my reference. the book Plant Systematics by Michael Simpson, year 2010. And this ends my report. Thank you.